Yeah, my name is Lisa Larsen, and I'm an environmental geologist for Larsen and Associates here in Lawrence. I have a long history of working in the regulatory field, as well as starting and running my own business. I built it from one person up to a continuous staff of 13 to 15 over the last 22 years. In 2014, I sold my business in May of 2014, but I continue to work with the new owners as they also build their own success story. I've lived in Lawrence for a total of about 18 years. I moved my business to Lawrence in about 2000, so I've had the business here for the last 14, 15 years. And what I love about Lawrence is the diversity of it. I think we need to embrace that diversity and build upon that diversity. And with my business, I'm in the environmental drilling business, and so being a woman in that business is definitely, I believe, puts me out there as somebody that has a diverse background, definitely. I've worked in that field all 30 years of my career, and I believe that I can add to the City Commission because I have a strong technical background, and working on both sides of the regulatory field, it would allow me to see both sides of that picture. You know, Lawrence has given me a great place to run my business, and the diversity and the forward thinking of this city has made it very easy for me to live here.
What is your plan for making traffic and pedestrian workflow more efficient in Lawrence? Or how would you prioritize applying the Complete Streets initiative in comparison to other city projects? You have 60 seconds.
The transportation situation in Lawrence does have its issues, problems, but also I see plans that are coming out now that are starting to address that from the city level, as well as committees that are putting together various development throughout neighborhoods, which I think is really important. I too worry about the bike lanes where they have painted the signs that we're sharing the road with cars. It has a tendency to give some sort of false sense of safety, and it's not there. So, you know, as a commissioner, if I were chosen for the position, I would definitely encourage that as plans are put together on the development side, that they include any sort of intermodal type of transportation, any biking, walking, the bus systems. The bus systems in Lawrence, I do like the bus system in Lawrence, and I see that it seems to me like it's being used more and more every year. And I would encourage that we continue with that, and that we find even better ways to.
It says, speak to the state of affordable housing in Lawrence.
Yeah, I look at this as a social justice issue, and that is that we should do no more harm. And because what I have seen of the last recent years is that we are looking to develop neighborhoods, to enhance neighborhoods in areas where the affordable housing is a place for people to live that do not make enough money to either buy their home or, you know, to live on different parts of the town. My concern on this is that if we want to bring manufacturing to Lawrence, and those jobs aren't going to pay barely the living wage, we've got to have housing for those folks to live here. And if we start redeveloping neighborhoods and start pushing those type of housing based on, you know, increase in taxes, and the housing rates go up and the tax rates go up, and then those folks who make that lower dollar amount aren't going to have a place to live. And we have got to, as a commission, as a city, to ensure that they have areas that they can afford to live in.
Where do you think growth in Lawrence should be directed in the future? Address retail developments such as the South Point project.
Yeah, as far as growth in Lawrence goes, we are limited by a few factors, physical factors. One is we've got, to the south, we've got some natural barriers. To the north, we've got some natural barriers. And to the west, actually, we have school district barriers, potentially. So the growth in Lawrence, you can look at growing out, but I would also strongly encourage that we look at growing within. And that is to protect the core of our city, and look at infill, look at providing opportunities for entrepreneurs to thrive, for small businesses to grow what's already here that they have, and then also look at small manufacturing that we can put. Venture Park is one thing. We've got a huge park out there that needs to be filled up. And so those are areas where maybe small manufacturing can go. But we have got to protect the downtown area, the core city, and make sure we're providing the freedom for entrepreneurs to grow their small businesses, and for small businesses themselves to maybe grow into medium-sized businesses.
Seconds. What qualities will you look for in our new city manager?
Trust would be the first one. First quality I would look for. But then also comes along with that is the need to ensure that they have a background when they, as former city managers or whatever, to provide information that's accurate, that's detailed to the city commission. And I think that's one thing that may in the past needed to be improved on. So if during the interview process, when I'm interviewing a city manager, a potential city manager, I would definitely look at the trust, whether or not they can gather the information, it's a full amount of information, and that they're transparent in their process.
And the question is, how would you address current and future needs of the Lawrence Police Department?
You know, I believe the Lawrence Police Department situation is a top priority for the city right now. The idea that we have got police officers are scattered, the evidence rooms are scattered, their services are scattered, where they can work out of, is just unacceptable. And they deserve it. They have done a lot of work on trying to figure out the best place to build a facility. And the one out at Hallmark, I was not real thrilled with. I thought that the cost was too high per acre, as well as I would like to see it potentially done without any sort of tax increase, if possible. Now, whether the location should be one in a central location or whether it should be divided up in two or three or four, I think that's something that's going to have to be determined as the public goes forward with the discussions. And I would look at myself the possibility of having at least two facilities potentially, and also look at refurbishing maybe some of the existing facilities.
You'll have 60 seconds. The entire northeast quadrant of Lawrence is a federally designed food desert. The former Borders building is the only viable site to address this community health issue with a full-line affordable grocery store. How can the city of Lawrence make this happen?
I also don't think the city commission has more than just a supporting role for this problem in downtown Lawrence, North Lawrence, and over even in the Pinckney area. It's important that we support any opportunity that or any entrepreneur that wants to take that opportunity to build a store. However, if we're going to be working with individuals, there is a good quote in the paper this morning from Mr. Lewis about putting a grocery store in the downtown area, and I thought was real telling as to who I would want to work with if I were on the city commission. And he said that he nixed the 11th and Mass location because the neighbors were not pleased with it, and the parking was an issue. So this is an individual who's listening to the neighbors and also understanding what the downtown issues are, and he's willing to negotiate, to move, to find a place that fits his needs. And anybody who wants to open up a grocery store, they've got to take that risk. And so we should be there as a supporting role and not as a driver of that.
The question is, Lawrence is a diverse community, but it has become clear that we have an equity problem with various groups and individuals lacking adequate representation in government. Please discuss the importance of this issue to you and how you, as a city commissioner, will work to ensure underrepresented groups have a voice.
Yeah, diversity is the one thing that I really love about Lawrence. It makes it very unique. And my thought on that is that I see it from a government standpoint, in that we can help serve the diversity in Lawrence, and by possibly looking at even a different form of government. And I would propose that we start looking at the idea of going to some sort of precinct system where each neighborhood could have its own representation. And that would allow that person who represents that neighborhood or that area of Lawrence to really get into the serious issues as what's occurring in that neighborhood. And diversity is one of those. Every part of Lawrence has a diversity. But if you have got one person that's concentrating on your neighborhood or your area, they would be able to provide more in-depth coverage of the needs. And so I would possibly start looking at that, the idea that we may need a different form of government in order to ensure every diverse person out there is heard.
What skills and experience do you possess that would help restore the public's confidence in the financial acumen of the City Commission?
My experience comes from a background in business. I ran my business for 22 years, and every single day of those 22 years, I had to make sure that the books were balanced, that we were able to make payroll, and that we were able to grow our business financially as we moved on along in our business. And so there's nothing more honest than that. And it was a financially successful business. I started it from scratch, and we were able to build a business that was successful. And granted, it's not on the numbers that the city has, because the budget's tough. You operate on many different fronts, and you're attacked by many different fronts on different items that you need to buy and or plan for in the capital improvement plans. So my background and my business experience, I think, is as honest as I can get. You've got to make those books honest every day, and you've got to make that payroll every day, and you've got to pay your bills every day. And I've done that for 22 years.
The question is, of the decisions made by the City Commission in the last 2 years, which would be the one you would rescind or modify? If you would modify it, how would you try and improve it?
This is pretty easy as far as the project, the Rock Chalk Park project. It seems to me that the citizens at that time were just screaming they wanted to vote on this. And I think that what I would have done is I would have pulled it and made sure that citizens were able to vote on this project, because it deserved to be voted on.
60 seconds. What is your top priority that has not been mentioned so far?
I would think that, and this was in part of my application, we haven't discussed the 9th Street corridor yet, Cultural Arts District. And so I think that's definitely coming down the pike. I think that the plan has been drawn up, it's been posted, and we need to make sure, the commissioners need to make sure that they look at this plan, and that it includes incorporation from the nearby residents, East Lawrence neighborhood. I've read the report. I'm concerned that maybe it is not drawing enough from the neighborhood to ensure that the neighborhood stays safe, that the taxes don't go wild out for the housing, and that we also make sure that the flavor of East Lawrence is maintained. And I'm not for sure if that plan fully does that at this time. I know it's a draft plan, so there's still work to be done on it.